Greetings, my friends. Thank you for coming back again. I've been looking forward to doing this for you. And today we're going to make a heart-shaped complex cane. And this one, kind of the point is that you can make one or two shapes to make a complex cane. You don't have to have a lot of shapes to make one. It's really just in how you put it back together. So we'll be demonstrating that for you today. And also this cane was seen on Facebook, and I had a lot of requests that we make it, so here we are. Don't forget to contact me through Facebook or through busypandora@gmail.com when you have suggestions of things that you'd like to see. I have a lot of stuff lined up for you, and I'll be sneaking you peeks at it here and there. But in the meanwhile, go ahead and contact me if you want to see something specific. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, we're starting today with a couple of teardrop shaped pieces. This a minute ago was just one round jelly roll cane made with a Skinner blend, and the blend is equal parts pomegranate and white in Sculpey Primo. So we've made our Skinner blend and made it round, and then really just pinched one side of the cane into a point. Makes two teardrop shapes, and we're going to put them together to make our heart shape. So one thing I do is leave it kind of open to begin with, because I'm going to take a sheet of black to make our line. Let's talk a little bit about lines. When you're caning, your wraps are going to do one of two things for you. They're going to either make a line or they're going to make a background. And that's really important to keep in mind, because some things you want to have a background of a color, but some things you're really just drawing, you're really just putting your shapes together and making them look like you want them to look, okay? So in this case right now we're making a line. Background will come later. So I put this down in the crack just a little bit where the bend begins on this heart shape, and bring it back around, and I'm going to tuck it back in that little place, okay? So we're going to stick it in there, and we're going to tuck it in to make our V shape down the center, okay? And that we have. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of triangular shaped cane down the center here to preserve the V down the middle, so it doesn't come out in the reduction process, okay? So we'll do that next. So we've got our little black wrap on there, making our line, and we're going to put a piece of triangular fill down this central area. Anytime you want to maintain the shape of one of your motifs in your cane, we do that by fill. So if I want to end up with a V-shaped area here and not have it flatten out during the reduction process, then I'm going to want to insert something of the shape that you want it to be. And more with your caning you'll be seeing that. There'll be times where you've got a beautiful elliptical kind of curve, and during the reduction process, it's probably happened to you many times before, you end up with a bunch of angles. So the way to avoid losing the shapes that you're trying to maintain is by the use of fill. So, you know, you've seen it before in my videos. Maybe we're going to make snakes, or maybe we're going to make triangles. Half rounds are big time fill. So as you advance in your caning, you'll see what you want to accomplish with your fill, but just don't forget that this line won't be here anymore if you don't put something in it to make it stay there. So that's why we did that. So we've got this piece. We're going to set this piece aside. We're going to make our little lariat rope. I don't know if anybody thinks it looks like a rope. It just always reminds me of one. That's why I call it that. So the gold and white are going to make our stripy edging, and I'm going to put a thin black sheet between the gold and the white. So this gold and white are each made on a number 1 setting on your machine, and the black one's made on a number 5 because I want it to be just a thin line and not as thick as the rest of it, okay? So I've got this nice stack here, and I'll trim up the edge so we can see what kind of stripes it is. So we're going to take these and we're going to put a black sheet on one more side so that it can form stripes when we put it together. And we'll do that now. So get the effect that we want with the black dividing both colors. And we'll throw them on here and settle it down. This is a good chance to check for bubbles, which you certainly do not want. And when you're working with these thinner pieces, you remember this is a number 5 setting, that's where your bubbles usually come from, is the thinner the pieces, the more they want to bubble up on you. So it's good to keep an eye on it now. It's a little bit easier to get them out now than it's going to be to get them out later. So I've got some stripe, gold, black, white, black. And all this is going to need to do is be big enough to fit around this edging, you know, like that. So we can cut this stack down now and know that our stripes are going to fit. It'd be nice to make everything exactly right beforehand, but I don't think too many people are going to do that because the reduction process is a little unpredictable. So you're never really going to have too much material. If you have some spare stripes hanging around, that's a good thing. So now I'm going to make my stripes, and I don't want them too big and I don't want them too small. I've got them probably about, I don't know, thicker than a nickel this time. And I'm going to make a few of them, enough to wrap around. And these are going to go on a thin sheet of black also, because I think you learned from the other video that it's a lot easier to put stripes on things when the stripes are on a sheet than just trying to make your stripes fit around the things you need them to fit around. So we will do that. And we'll lay all these out on a nice even strip. You see my cuts are starting to get a little slanty, so every so often you can straighten your stack out. We've got plenty of material. We're not worried about running out. And that's really important too. Is, I don't know, maybe it seems wasteful, but I always end up using everything. Just make a little bit more than you need, because I think it's kind of disheartening to be really rolling along here in your crafty flow and have to stop and make stuff. So go ahead and hook yourself up beforehand. And now we're going to put these onto a strip. We're going to take our little stripes and we're going to arrange them on our strip. This strip was made at the number 1 setting this time. And it's going to provide a wrap for the cane at the same time. Saves us a step to have this be big enough to accomplish the wrapping that we need for this. I don't know if you guys are into Valentine's Day stuff, but if you're as slow as I am, it's good this is coming out in January, because if you want to make them for Valentine's Day, that'd be nice. I made one for my uncle who wanted one in a deep blood red. And it's really turned out pretty cool. I'll show it to you if you want to see it. Here's the big version. Here's it reduced a little bit. This one I'm making with a little more contrast, you see, because I think most people like that. But I thought that was pretty sweet of him to request that for his Valentine. I would faint and fall dead if Spike ever thought that far ahead on an occasion like that. My boyfriend Spike is a wonderful man, but he's not the type that's going to be ordering handmade Valentine gifts. So I thought that was pretty sweet. So we've got our stripes going along here. We've got plenty of them. Be sure you make your strip a lot longer than it takes to go around this. You're going to see that in a minute, because the thickness of what you apply to a strip really increases the length that you need to go around your project. And you wouldn't believe how many times I measured something like this with a little tape measure, thought I was so smart, and I made the strip the same length as it is here, and then I couldn't quite figure out why it didn't fit at all. But it doesn't fit at all. So you're making it longer. by probably a good inch, even on a small project like this. I'm going to settle them down a little bit. And as we've gone over many times, they probably aren't perfect cuts, but I do not care about that. And I hope that you don't either, because it will ruin all your fun to be worried about it. So now I've got this nice band of stripes, and I'm going to wrap it around my cane. You need to put it black side down this time, okay? And I usually start down at the point because that gives me a lot of latitude on what I'm going to do with matching them up, you know. It's a little bit easier to do it that way. I'm going to start down at the point, and I'm going to wrap my stripes around this cane, okay? You can straighten them a little bit. They're going to be straightened in the end. And the main thing I want to make sure of is that I've got a gold and a white in the end. So I'm going to cut it that way, across this gold here. And that's pretty close, okay? So then I'm going to pinch this shut. And I'm going to wrap this again in another sheet of black to bring in these lines and to make them conform to each other a little bit more. Okay? So we got our little stripy band on there. And I'm going to wrap it 2 times. This one looks good with a lot of background. So you see the difference between our wrap to make a line and our wrap to make a background. And it's really just a matter of thickness. And something like this is very flexible on what you want to be line and what you want to be background. But on some projects that you're doing, it's really, really a huge difference. So just be mindful of that, and the more you cane, I think the more you'll really be able to use lines and backgrounds in the way that you want to execute your designs. Okay? So I've got one black wrap on my heart, and I'm going to put another one on there, and really I'm trying to insulate these curved areas so that during the reduction process it doesn't get too triangular. So that's why I'm going to put a good wrap on it. And don't forget, this could be white, this could be any color that you want to. You don't have to make all this gothic stuff I make. It's just I really like the blackness of it. I really like the way it shows off the center design. And so I use a lot of black. That cane I showed you a minute ago has 8 ounces of black in the wrap. Just in that, you know, those 2 pieces. So you can do that as much as you want to. And I think your design should be just like you want it to be. So now we have our heart. And I'm going to reduce this for you off camera so that you can see how the spinning heart effect is accomplished. So that's what I'll do now. So I brought this down a little bit off camera. You guys know how to reduce. I'll show you a little bit of it just in case. You see how my hands are all black? That's how you know I've been a busy girl. So when you're reducing the cane like this, try not to pinch too hard on the end. You're going to get a little distortion of your dotted line, but a little bit looks good and a lot looks, you know, a little squirrely. So you want to not pinch it too hard. You're pulling, keeping your curve here. You don't want that to become too sharpened, because when it's sharp, it doesn't look, you know, like a curve anymore. So reducing something of this heart shape is a little bit different from your regular triangle, but the basics are the same. You're taking down your sides, and you're mindful of your shape, what you want it to be when you're finished, and we're not going to squish down on it too hard. And you sort of see now why we did that fill, because we didn't want to cave it in, and we wanted it to be crisp in the design lines. So anyway, that's what I have been doing while you weren't looking. And I have this piece. You can take this down obviously as small as you want to, but if you want to do it the easy way, you can go ahead and take it to about double this length and then cut it into your 6 pieces, because once you assemble it round, which we'll do in a minute with slices, then you can reduce it using the plastic caps, and that's a lot quicker than having to reduce it maintaining all these curves. Okay, so I'm going to slice this to kind of show you what I mean. You guys are getting more and more advanced, and I'm sure that you know what I mean, but if I'm ever vague, feel free to call me on it and mention it with a message on YouTube or Facebook, and I will make any adjustments I need to because I want it to be good for you. So I'm going to take 6 slices of this for demonstration purposes. If you want to make your cane round, you'll want to take it out to 2-3 times this length. So you'll have something to hang on to, and so that it'll be smaller. But we're not worried about size today. I just want you to see the complete project and be able to visualize what we're kind of going for here. So I've got my nice little slices, and I'll put them together. I can go ahead and match these so that they look, more intentional, all right? Little twist on that white part. It's not hurting anything, and as you know, it's okie dokie with me. So I've got this, and I'm taking the 6 pieces, and I'm lining them up pretty nicely. And this is the cane that people saw on Facebook, and they wanted me to make it because after it's put together they really liked it. So, complex caning doesn't always have to be like our last video with a lot of components. Sometimes complex caning can be one cane that's put together and forms a pleasing design. So you're putting your pieces together and you're making them into a pleasing design. You're just maintaining symmetry. That's all you got to do. If you don't want to put anything in the middle there, like a little stone or a bead or something on your final design, you can sharpen up the points so that they all touch. I wasn't concerned with that this minute, but you're going to know what you're making, and I don't know what you're making, so we're just going to do it like that. And that's the final design.